Now behind me is apparently one of the most photogenic islands in Greece. So this here is Folegandros, a small island close to Santorini in the Aegean Sea. And my girlfriend wanted to visit here because it's a small, quiet island with fantastic food and also some beautiful beaches. But on several blogs I did read that it was the most photogenic island in the Cyclades and also had one of the most picturesque towns anywhere in Greece. So knowing that, I completely agreed we should definitely come and visit this small island. So we're definitely going to go out and explore, get into the town at sunrise, and there's also these beautiful cliffside views. And my question is as well, with less crowds, is this better than Santorini? So tonight I've come up to what is definitely the most popular viewpoint in Folegandros. We have this kind of beautiful church up behind me here, up on the mountain, and there's this beautiful windy path lined with kind of white rocks and white detailing all the way up to this church, up the mountain. And then just from the cliffside here, we have a view just over the town. The town of Folegandros is set right on the edge of the cliff here. So it's overhanging, the sun's coming down, we've got this beautiful peninsula here fading off into the background. So I think this is going to be a really good shot. And the thing about this as well is obviously in a lot of the Greek islands you get these kind of white houses on the cliff face, but you don't get any quite as rugged as this. So I think we'll wait for the sun to come down a little bit and we will get a shot here. But you can already see there's a few people kind of heading up the path here as well, heading up to the top. I've actually found that, to be honest with you, to get a good shot here, you don't need to go all the way to the top of the church, realistically. Like if you're a bit lower down, you get more of the town in, and as well as that full view of the peninsula. If you go a bit higher up, you do kind of lose a bit of that. But it was a really quick walk, actually. We're just staying just there, I think, in Folegandros apartments, and it's probably about 300 meters from where I'm staying to this viewpoint. So this is proving to be a little bit of a challenging location actually, because we're shooting directly into the sun here. You can see the peninsula here and the sun kind of setting just behind it. So that's causing a few little issues, I suppose. I did scope this place out at sunrise as well yesterday morning, but sunrise doesn't work because the sun sets behind the kind of cliff on that side, so it goes below the cliff, and this is all in shadow before you get that nice golden light. But because it's a little bit harsh right now, what I'm actually doing is focusing in on the town on the cliff face here instead. So I'm using a longer focal length. You can just about see my composition here maybe. As you can see here, I've zoomed right in using a 70-200. You can see here I've got it on probably about 110, 115, and just kind of aiming at that last section of the town just here. And the good thing about that is I'm zoomed so far in that I'm not getting any glare from the sun. I'm kind of cutting that out entirely. And the light's kind of casting nice kind of a light and shadow and a bit of contrast across those buildings at the moment. So I think the first little shot for tonight is going to be just concentrating on that. And then we'll try a wider shot maybe once the sun's come down a little bit further. Right, for the next little composition here, I think I'm going to try a much wider shot. Some of the rocks in the foreground here are catching a nice little bit of light. So we'll go with the 16-35, probably shoot at about 16, try and use these rocks as a bit of foreground interest and see if we can work that out. The light's kind of fading pretty quickly now, but I came up with a bit of a wider angled composition, I think, that hopefully works okay. You might be able to see here what I've tried to do is kind of include these rocks in the foreground here. They had a bit of light on them before, kind of running from the right hand side of frame and then leading on to the town there. And then obviously you've got the peninsula coming all the way through there as well into the background, into the opposite corner. Again, obviously it's still a bit of an issue shooting straight into the sun, but what I'm hoping is this 16-35mm lens produces a really nice sun star. So once the sun just dips kind of below the horizon, just a fraction, we might get a really nice sun star there as well. So I think, to be honest with you, I'm just going to kind of wait this out for a little bit until that sun goes down, maybe another 15-20 minutes. And then in the meantime, maybe we'll grab a few shots on the drone. I think that was definitely worth sticking around for. Just waiting that little bit longer did mean I got a couple of sun stars. So now I've got a few different images to choose from. I've got one with more light on the rocks in front of me, and then one with the, well, a couple with the sun star in the distance as well. So in post, I can then choose to combine those together if I want to, or I can pick and choose between light in different areas, which is a really nice thing to have. I'm not sure if I will combine them or if I'll just stick with one image, but I'll show you the results and let you know what I went for. So in the end, I did use just one single frame. I felt like there was enough light on the rocks in the foreground, as well as a good sun star in just one image. So not too bad for a first location, I don't think, on Folegandros. But a quick question for you, and I'm kind of interested in what other photographers kind of experience with this. Do you think when you turn up to a location like this and there's a lot of other people around, do you find that other people are really drawn to you if you have a tripod set up or a camera set up kind of pointing at a view? So obviously this is a popular viewpoint and there are a lot of people around walking up and down, but where I'm stood isn't necessarily like the be all and end all of viewpoints. You know, I've kind of set my camera up in quite a specific way to get certain leading lines from the foreground kind of going into the background. You know, I've thought through the composition, but there's obviously a lot of people that just want to get a picture. But I find if you set up a tripod and a camera, people seem to gravitate towards you. And it's happened multiple times where people have stood literally directly in front of where I am, as if they need the exact shot that I've lined up. But of course, they're shooting it on an iPhone, a completely different focal length and a different composition. They're not pointing it in the exact same direction I am, so they're not getting the features that I'm kind of trying to get by standing there. So what do you think? Do you find that? Do you find that happens? I think it happens relatively often. Quite a large group actually ended up gathering behind me today to watch the sunset almost directly behind me, which seemed a bit strange because there's a lot of coastline here that you can just choose to sit at and relax at. So I don't know why you wouldn't go there, to be honest with you. But is it the fact that I'm there? They think that is definitely the best spot to see it from because they feel like I've got a professional camera? Or is that just me looking into it and overthinking it a bit too much? I don't know. What do you reckon? Let me know in the comments. And there are definitely a couple of other spots I want to shoot on this island. One of them definitely being inside the Chora itself, inside the town. And I've been out there for dinner already and it is a magical little spot. So I'm really excited to show you that. I think I'll head out at sunrise just to try and get some images there when there's not too many people around. And maybe I'll revisit it in the evening too. But yeah, can't wait to show you that. Good morning from Folegandros, Chora. Chora is just kind of a Greek word for town or for main village. And this is the main one on the island. And as you can see, it is pretty picturesque. It's pretty photogenic, pretty beautiful little spot. And you can see behind me one of the squares that everyone meets in to eat in the evenings. And the whole town is essentially a series of interconnected squares. I think there's about 4 of them all together. And they have restaurants spread amongst them all. And honestly, at night time, this place comes alive. So the Chora here is made up of a mixture of kind of older buildings that are hundreds of years old from where the old castle was, as well as slightly more modern looking buildings as well. It's a nice little contrast. And there's these beautiful kind of narrow, windy roads in between it all, linking it all together. And they've done a great job of mixing it together. You can see here we've got the kind of older buildings here, the more modern next to it. And we've also got a lot of these beautiful kind of purple flowers all over the place. So I just kind of love all the textures on this building, like the worn-off paint on the doors, the kind of broken brick. It's really interesting. It's a real contrast to the kind of perfect white buildings that surround it. So I'm going to grab a couple of shots of this, see if they turn out any good. Probably just cropping in to the building itself and not really including much of the stuff next to it. What would be perfect is if there was a cat sat just here on this wall. And I think that would really kind of top it off. But I think it might be a nice shot anyway, just based off of the just purely the textures and the colours. I mean, one thing I would say with this town is it's almost too perfect. Like, you have to wonder sometimes, this is a bit of a Disneyland. Is this kind of set up for tourism? I'm sure they lean into it for that purpose. Or is this what it would actually look like if tourism hadn't become a thing? Would it still be this kind of style, this well kept? But Either way, it's pretty beautiful. As pretty and picturesque as these streets are in Folegandros, I do think for a lot of these shots I need kind of more of like an anchoring point or a focal point. So what I've been trying to do is, as I'm walking around town, is spotting people or spotting cats that are in certain areas, and that can be the focal point. And the street is kind of like a way of framing that person and drawing the attention towards that person. So just down here, I've just seen there's a gentleman sat on a bench, just kind of having a morning smoke, I think. So I'm going to try and use a longer lens to zoom in, get a shot of him kind of sat on the bench with the street in the background. And I'll probably do the same with a couple of cats if I can find them sat in the right place. I think that's really the way to go with this morning. Get a few shots of the general streets and also some kind of more focused ones, some more kind of street photography style stuff. I think even from the town, that church on the hillside definitely becomes a bit of a focus. And I've found a few interesting places to shoot it from actually. And on the other side of town here, coming a bit further away from where we're staying, you've got views back along at the church. You might be able to see just here, the church is up on that hill, and then we've got the town. And I found a really cool little spot actually here where there's some nice kind of foliage in the foreground. Got all these kind of leaves and bushes in the foreground, and then the town and the church in the background there. So that's going to be my last little shot for this morning, I think. But this location is going to work really well at sunset as well, because that mountain's going to catch a lot of light. Works pretty well now, but might work even better later on. So I think this is going to be the last shot, or one of the last shots of Folegandros, heading back out to that spot for sunset. So I just need to head up this little hill, and I think from up here I can get a better view back across the city and get a few layers of houses as well as that church in the background as the sun hits the cliff. Not gonna lie, probably not the most romantic spot for sunset. Kind of squeeze ourselves in between some of these kind of resort complexes and buildings, but from here I can get a bit of a clearer view without having the telegraph wires in the way. And also from here we get like 3 layers of buildings, so we get this early layer here, then the main section of the town, and then the church. Obviously shooting that on a much longer focal length. But as Brooke just noted as well, and I think I'd have to agree, this morning we were getting kind of side lighting or backlighting on the town over this way, and right now we're getting in the opposite direction. So you get this kind of hazy mist just out there in the background. And I think we'll have to wait and see to see if this sunset light is gonna surpass or be better than the sunrise light, that kind of side light or that backlight that we had this morning. So yeah, over that way looks better. It's getting a similar angle of light that this way was this morning, but maybe we'll wait like 15 minutes for the sun to get a bit lower in the sky, and then hopefully we'll get a pretty nice shot from here too. So the light actually came in really nicely there towards the end of the evening. So now I'm a little unsure what light I prefer, the kind of side light from the sunrise shoot or that light then here during sunset. They're both pretty nice, and this spot is definitely a better spot to shoot sunset from, I think. The viewpoint up there where everyone kind of crowds to is maybe a better view directly into the sun, but this is a better view of the town. It's just not quite as a romantic spot to hang out. But let me know, what do you think? Which one's better, the sunrise or the sunset shot? During our time here in Folegandros, I've definitely got quite a lot of images, and it's surprising for actually such a small island as well. And I think tonight we've definitely finished it off with the best. But what do you reckon? Is it more photogenic than Santorini? I tell you what, it's a hell of a lot quieter, so I think the experience is definitely more enjoyable. But if you've made it this far, once again, thank you so much for watching. And next week, I promise I'll be back in the Canadian Rockies and hopefully on a hike that has been closed for the last 5 years. So super excited to get out on that trail, document it, show it to you guys and get some images. But thanks so much for watching and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.